Welcome to the show. Well, it's springtime in Washington County, and for some, warm weather means thinking about a garden. But for some like me, having a productive garden is not a given. So tonight, I am pleased to welcome Annette Cormany, right? Did I
Cormany.
Cormany!
Very close.
From the University of Maryland Extension Service. Welcome, Annette.
Thank you.
So, since I am the moderator of this segment, I'm going to take the first question if I can, but you'll get questions from everybody here. So, Annette, so I do have a garden. I have a vegetable garden, and usually by June it's full of weeds. How do I stop that? Is it a constant, you got to weed every day?
Yeah, the best way to deal with weeds is to prevent them from popping up in the first place.
Okay.
Which means don't turn the soil a lot. And make sure you've got a good layer of mulch over everything. If you block the sunlight, you block the weeds.
But don't you also block the seeds from germinating?
You don't want to cover your seeds. You want to put it around your seeds.
Ah, okay. All right. Very good.
So heavy mulch. Well, one question that's been played out in the national media is regarding bees. Okay, the parasites that the bees get and they die off of honeybees and how important they are to all of our agricultural needs. Can you maybe expound on that? I mean, obviously me living in a residential neighborhood, I might not be a prime candidate for beekeeping, but what if one of us wanted to go into beekeeping, or how do we take care of things such as that?
Number one, everyone can help, regardless of the size of your property, whether you're in an apartment, whether you're in a big property. Everyone can help the bees, and we should all be concerned about helping the bees and other pollinators, because 1 in 3 bites of food that we eat is something that has to be pollinated. So honeybees, butterflies, hummingbirds, even bats and moths are important pollinators. And the best thing you can do is to provide nectar and pollen all season long. That means you've got something blooming in your yard from, say, April to frost.
I always have dandelions.
Actually, dandelions are good food for pollinators. They're one of the earliest food sources for hummingbirds.
Okay.
So embrace your dandelions.
I'll try to convince my neighbors of that fact.
Janice?
So it is coming into the end of March. We have a garden at our house on top of the mountain, and so we're now getting to the point where we need to start tilling and plowing and looking at what we want to plant. What in the next, say, 30 to 45 days should we be getting in the ground?
Okay. Well, the early cool season crops are things like peas and potatoes and spinach and the lettuces. They like it cold. It really isn't until, say, May, when it gets warm and stays warm, say after Mother's Day, that you can plant the warm weather crops like tomatoes and peppers.
So what about for somebody that wants a garden but doesn't have one? Let's say they want a vegetable garden. How would you recommend somebody to get started, whether they're living in a small apartment type thing or let's say a townhouse? How can people get started into this and be successful?
Well, the best thing to do is to start small. Maybe only use a half whiskey barrel and put a tomato in it and surround it by a little basil. Or get a self-watering system that looks like a big window box. They're called earth boxes. And they make it really easy to get started, a little less scary, and you can grow a lot of productive vegetables in a 1 foot by 3 foot space.
Okay.
Now, for ease of maintenance, I've heard a lot of people rave about raised garden beds. The challenge you have with the raised garden beds, you have to have the soil to put in there to begin with.
Right.
So where's a good resource for someone in the community to get some soil brought in? I mean, aside from digging my yard up and...
Okay, you want my dirty secrets, don't you? You want the skinny on dirt.
Yes,
I know.
yes.
Okay. The best thing you can do is to go to a good garden center and maybe have them custom mix something for you that's simply a good soil, good basic soil mixed with, say, some mushroom compost. So you're getting some compost and some soil, nice rich soil to start from. But raised beds are great. They heat up a little earlier so you can get your crops in a little earlier. And they're nice for maintenance because they're bringing the soil up to you so you don't have to go so far down to get to it.
Right. Now, with doing something like that, You don't want to, if you're having vegetables you're growing, you really don't want to use the pressure-treated wood anymore, is that correct?
No.
Okay, what
So
would you
many
recommend?
times, so many times it has been, the older wood was treated with arsenic. Newer wood still is treated with chemicals. We're trying to get you to grow as organically as you can. So something like a red oak
Okay.
or a cedar, you can actually buy preformed plastic forms that make it real easy. You just snap them together.
Can you, what about block? What about cinder block? Is that,
You can use anything that will edge as long as it's holding the soil up.
but there's
that's
no
fine.
problem with chemicals or anything in the
No,
cinder block?
no, and actually raised beds don't have to have an edge. You can just scoop the soil up, say 4 to 6
found
inches, and plant right in them.
You mentioned organics.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you recommend organic treatment for your garden? Are there any synthetic fertilizers or
Mm-hmm.
other chemicals that you would suggest as part of your gardening?
If you can garden healthier, why not garden healthier? And organic gives us a way to be healthier for ourselves, for our landscapes, for the whole community. The fact is that organic fertilizers are widely available. Organic treatment for pests and often diseases are available. So why not choose an organic and have a healthier self and a healthier backyard?
In other words, use fresh animal manure.
Is that what?
Well,
But Washington
aged
County's a little bit of a
animal manure.
challenging.
Aged animal manure is what we recommend, and that has to be aged at least a year. But before you put any fertilizers on, why not get a soil test? For $10, $15, you can find out exactly what your garden has and is lacking.
And where do we do that?
You can get the forms at the Extension office on the Sharpsburg Pike, or you can go online to our website, which also has the information. It's really easy. You just take a couple samples, put them in a bag, send them off, and in a week to 2 weeks usually.
So now
you'll
is
get your
actually the
results.
time to do that because we're
perfect
not
time
going to
to do
plant
it.
for several weeks
Right.
yet. So we should all be going home and getting our soil tested, right?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Figure out what we
Excellent.
need.
Now,
So what do you have for, if you're looking at growing herbs, what would be kind of the 5 basic herbs to get started with an herb garden? Because it's a smaller
Right.
size needed, and
The
that
most
can kind of be your
important
window
thing in
box.
deciding what you want to grow is deciding what you want to eat. So grow what you like. Most people love basil because most people love basil with tomatoes. Other things
And
that are very
pesto.
and pesto. Thank you very
then we
much.
need pine nuts.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Although you can use walnuts. Walnuts are great with a pesto. Sorry, I'm not here to give cooking advice.
But feel
But-
free.
That's a
Yes,
different
go
show.
ahead. That's the next segment.
But basil, oregano, thyme, maybe chives. Those are 4 good ones to start out with.
Chives, really?
Yeah.
Okay. And can you start those indoors?
You can start most of those indoors, although herbs really like very bright light, so you're better off getting some supplemental lighting from grow lights.
Okay. One of the questions that I had, I remembered at one point, and maybe this was a different organization, but do you guys have a tree program or something that you run?
The Soil Conservation District has a tree seedling sale that we support.
Okay.
We share flyers on
And when
that.
is that? Is it
That
over?
is just over. I'm so sorry.
Okay.
But
missed
the Master Gardeners have a plant sale the last Saturday in April, on April 30th, from 8 till noon, and we will have over 3,000 plants to sell, all Master Gardener grown.
And that's down off the Sharpsburg Pike.
Yes, that's in the Ag Center on the Sharpsburg Pike.
So what types of things, as our would-be gardeners start to explore, what types of things should they call the Extension Service for help on? I know we had an unknown bug in our garden a couple of years ago, and we called, and Lynn Little at the time hooked up with someone, and we found out what the bug was.
Well, we're really at Extension and Outreach Education arm of the University of Maryland. So I am the garden specialist. So I'm someone you'd call for advice on identifying a bug or treating a plant, or what might possibly be wrong with that tree, or what would be a good shrub for that location. But we have specialists in nutrition education. We have farming specialists, nutrition specialists, so, and we're also 4-H, so we really are a good one-stop shop if you have a question.
Okay, excellent.
Now, Heirloom Seeds. What are natural vegetables that grow in this area? What would you recommend, and where is the access for maybe some heirloom seeds instead of going out and buying the little pack you find at the blue or orange box store?
Well, we will have them on our plant sale the last Saturday in April, but you can find good heirloom seeds online from companies like Landreth, Johnny Seeds. There really are a number of good suppliers. And again, you can call me or email me, and I'd be happy to provide a list of sources.
And Maryland is fairly temperate to grow just about anything, or there are things to avoid?
We're zone 6, which allows you to grow almost any vegetable that you want. They may not survive the winter, but most will give you a good productive season.
Okay.
So I live on the west side of the mountain, so I don't get the morning sun so much. So what would be, so therefore the garden doesn't get a whole lot of sun until afternoon. So what would be either flowers and particular plants to focus on, like knowing anything that requires a full day of sun isn't going to survive very well?
Do well. Well, you want part sun or part shade plants. So there are any number of blooming perennials that would be lovely. I have full sun, so I'm jealous. I would love to have more shade. So there are flowering plants that will do well. Things like salad greens, like lettuce, do very well in shade. There's actually many things that do really well in shade.
Okay. So we've got about 30 seconds left, actually about 10 seconds before we have to cut out. Do you want to give your web address or any other information if people need to contact you?
Sure.
What's a good web address?
Well, my email is acormany, ACORMANY, at umd.edu. That's a nice, fast, quick, easy way to get to me.
Okay, and that will be on the screen. So,
Terrific.
So we'll do that. Great. Well, thank you very much. We appreciate you taking the time, and hopefully our gardens will all do better this summer.
We always hope, yes.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Okay, next up on the flip side, Maryland is ready to save money, and they're saving it by opening the prison doors. Our panel weighs in on the new rules. Stay with us.